blog Tornado. How are you? And today we're gonna talk about interesting footage I got from somewhere from South Korea. The person's name is anonymous and he didn't leave me much information, so please next time if you do send footage, I do appreciate it a lot, but please include a little bit more information. That way I know what to think of what you have sent me, because I do need to look at it first, and maybe if you have a link that you can provide me directly to your channel, that would be great. Okay, so again, if you send me anything, please include a little bit more information regarding your footage. Anyways, we'll go through it today, and this footage is pretty interesting to me, as you probably know, and that's why you probably have sent it to me, since I have seen orbs for myself and I made few videos regarding orbs, and therefore I do talk a lot about orbs. I strongly believe, first of all, that the orbs have been with us throughout the history for thousands and thousands of years, and the only reason they're popping up now more than they did before, basically because of technology. We've seen this kind of phenomena even in cave paintings. Okay, we can see some spherical objects in the sky, and if you watch movie Prometheus, which you probably did, you'll notice they're talking about in a briefing room regarding this strange cave paintings and these lights in the sky. They're very similar to each other. I strongly believe that orbs have something to do with the actual Illuminati symbol, and to me it ties in with orbs because orbs illuminate light, and therefore Illuminati kind of ties in with that. And not just that, but the upper part of the pyramid is hovering up in the air, which tells a little bit about that these things are able to fly, and they have some sort of intelligence that Illuminati symbol is telling us about, which says "E pluribus unum," above all none, as you already know. And orbs are pretty much what's watching us all the time as far as I'm concerned, and we still don't have an answer. The government doesn't have an answer. No one has an answer to what this phenomena could actually be, but yet they just seem to be hovering in the air in so many cities around the globe. And that's why I'm not surprised about this footage that was sent to me, because this kind of footage right now is being quite common around the world. And also Kyle has sent me a link that I put it under UFO video collection video, and you can see his orb that he captured on a smartphone himself. So again, this footage to me is very special, because what I've seen when I was a kid is basically I saw three lights in the sky, although you only see one in this video, but I see three lights in the sky that basically didn't make any noise. They just hover in the air. There were three, and they sort of fly in symmetrical pattern. They just from one orb came another orb, which was very interesting to see. They seem to be multiplying. Again, no sound was produced, and therefore such technology didn't even exist in that town, and that was about maybe 35 years ago. So this kind of phenomena captured my attention. Now look at this. The lights that I see in the sky, the orbs, approximately 5 kilometers from there is a shrine with Jesus and a cross and a bunch of candles around, and on top you can see Illuminati symbol. And like I said, I feel like there's a strong connection between orbs and Illuminati symbol. Okay, something is controlling our government perhaps, and the government cannot say much about it. And even David Icke talks about this, and some sort of reptilian race that's been enslaving our population and our humanity, and that's their goal. And Illuminati symbol simply says, here is your money, you can have your design, you can have your colors, you can have your shapes, but wait a minute, this symbol, it's ours, and it's gonna be right on your American dollar bill, which says we control the government. And that's the scary thought behind this whole situation. And what's the deal with this Illuminati symbols popping up all around the world? Again, I saw the symbol not too far from there, roughly 5 kilometers, and that symbol and those kind of orb phenomena sort of fit in together really nicely, because they're both hard to explain. So again, it's some sort of symbol that says that it's illuminating, and it hovers in the air, and supposedly there's intelligence behind the symbol, which sort of pretty much describes the orbs. And that's the reason why I'm so interested in this particular subject of orbs. So please stay with me to understand what really is going on with this orb phenomena that is just kind of taking over and changing our reality into some sort of science fiction movie. And nobody seems to be really concerned about it. Now, as you can clearly see here, orbs are displaying color orange. Now, the question is, again, is this some sort of communication, or is this some sort of discharge of some sort of energy, and that's why it's lighting up to be orange? And that is the question, and we still need to look into this to understand how this orb phenomenon operates. Now, as you can see here, you can see a simple orange light, and that's pretty much what you'll see when you look up into the sky. But they seem to be silent, to say the least, and basically there's not much to see but an orange light that seems to kind of move in a way that has its own intelligence. So that again ties into the symbol of Illuminati, the all-seeing eye, the eye of providence, pluribus unum, above all none. But what is above all none really means? Are they trying to say something that's right in front of our eyes, but yet we don't seem to be questioning this? And the only thing that ties into this to me is, again, the orb phenomenon, as you can see here. Such symbols around the globe pretty much tells us that this kind of control is global phenomena. And again, it's found right on American dollar bill, on most common currency. And that is kind of a scary thought, or something unusual, to say the least. If orbs tie into some sort of extraterrestrial life, then we have to question if our US government has been under some sort of control that they're not telling us. Now, again, I do talk a lot about this as far as Bob Lazar is concerned. Basically, he was explaining how they erased his records. For instance, him working at Los Alamos, and all his information, him working there, records are just disappeared. And he said, and he talks about this, about some sort of hidden government within the government that basically does whatever they feel like, and the actual government itself doesn't have control over them. And that's very important to understand. And again, is he referring to Men in Black, perhaps? There are footage out there that kind of resembles Men in Black, that don't look like actual humans themselves, and there's a lot of stories regarding this. We have to sort of question this and find out how far does this rabbit hole go. So what's really controlling the government? Is there some sort of force because of this Illuminati symbol right on American dollar bill? Okay, so that is this question that kind of drives this whole channel in some ways. And I like to get to the bottom of this because, again, I'm a witness of UFO orbs. I've seen them before, and again, they pretty much look what you see here, an orange light that's in the sky, basically not even emitting any sound, no noise, no nothing, and yet sometimes it actually moves in symmetrical ways. From what I've seen, it moves very symmetrical. Now again, the only way to do something like that would have to be somewhat mechanical in nature or whatnot, so similar to drones perhaps. So we can clearly see that there's something going on here. And as I talked about before in my previous video about crop circles, now I strongly think that crop circles have a lot to do with orbs, because there's an actual footage out there that clearly shows orbs flying around the field, and suddenly the crop circles are being made. So to me that shows that perhaps they're communicating with us in some ways. But again, as I explained in the video, they're using geometry for us to understand, not because they need to understand it, but because they wanted to establish some sort of communication that we can understand for a starting point for now, okay? They're not taking things any further than they should, so basically they're just throwing some sort of cards on the table for now for us to kind of see how we respond to this. And again, I do talk about UNI, the intergalactic language that we should have create sooner or later, because I strongly believe that this extraterrestrial phenomena is actually trying to communicate with us already, but we don't have any set up language to communicate back with them. So again, it's like creating some sort of Morse code, and so we can communicate between each other. But have we created anything similar to actually communicate with extraterrestrials? So that's what I'm talking about in UNI, the intergalactic language that perhaps we need to come up with, which I also explained that such language already exists. It's already out there in the universe. It's a language that comes from nature, and it's already made. It's already given to us by nature, and such as colors, sounds, quantity, and shapes. And we see those kind of things pretty much spread out across the universe. So we have to assume that such things occur naturally on other planets out there in the universe. And therefore, it doesn't really matter the distance, and that solves some kind of problems for us. Again, we cannot use language that we want to use. We cannot use anything that derives from our culture. Whether it's symbolism or alphabet or language or math. Again, it will not apply to them, not because they might not understand it so much, but because there is some sort of evolutionary gap between extraterrestrial and us, and we have to understand that. Like Bob Lazar talked about this technology, about 9 UFOs, and perhaps if one of them was actually authentic, and he talks about how advanced these machines are or whatnot, you have to understand that, that the gap between our evolution and theirs, it might be really big. It will take a lot of effort, perhaps, to kind of establish this communication. So again, we cannot mix our culture, and they cannot mix their culture with our communication at all. None of extraterrestrial life out there should do that, because we don't know the gap between our civilizations, okay? There might be a big gap between the actual evolutions, and therefore the only thing that we can agree on, as I talked about it before, is basically using what naturally occurs throughout the universe, such as sounds, perhaps, colors, shapes, quantity, and that's something that's already written in the nature. It's already language of the universe. So now please stay with me a little bit more to get this orb phenomena out there to understand what really is going on. Again, I'm a witness of orbs, and it's just stayed with me for so long throughout my life that at some point I just didn't have anybody to talk to about this, or even if I did, some people just don't understand what I'm talking about. It never happened to them until I got across a video on YouTube, and that really helped me to understand what's going on. Okay, so that kind of explained to me that what I've seen, I'm not alone. And that's the reason why I like to make this video for those who are interested to talk about this, if something like this has happened to you, perhaps. Okay, maybe you've seen something like an orb, or I could be completely wrong. Maybe you see something a lot more than an orb, such as the terrestrial themselves. So that's something, I would love to talk to you about this, and I've talked to a few people so far. Again, they actually didn't want to talk about this, until now, when they were 72. What's interesting about this, they saw this UFO supposedly above them that have a circulating light around the edge, and there was some lights underneath, and suddenly just disappeared, but they actually seen it up close. Now, what's interesting is that they seen this when they were 42, and they never seemed to talk about it much. They just told few people about it until now they're 72. There's nobody to talk to about this, and sometimes YouTube is our only support to connect with people who actually seen such phenomena themselves. So that can happen. So that's why you're more than welcome to leave any kind of comment regarding UFOs. Even though I'm a witness of orb phenomena, I don't necessarily believe in everything, if you understand my point, but I do understand people that actually send me a footage like this, and people who actually comment on my channel, they've seen something, and the only reason why they would do such a thing is perhaps obviously because they've seen something, and therefore I can relate to that, I can understand that. So if you have something that you would like to share, like for instance the channel Psychosis is Fun has commented on my video and basically talks about how he was abducted a couple of times by these aliens. However, he doesn't wish upon anybody to have such experience, and I can understand that, because in many cases it doesn't mean that extraterrestrial are very nice at what they're doing. There might be actually pain involved. So they're actually, according to him, a bunch of scary guys, and that's something we have to take in consideration as well. So again, not every alien abduction is a pleasant abduction, okay? However, some people do wish they were abducted by a UFO so they can actually see what it looks like inside, interior of the UFO. That's why Bob Lazar's story is so incredible, such an incredible story if it's true. Because he actually talks about him having experience with the actual physical craft, being inside one of those UFOs, which must have been just amazing feeling and experience that you probably never ever gonna get again. And again, I talked to this lady, she's also 72 now, and she saw this UFO phenomenon a long time ago. But I do tell her how lucky she must be to see something like this, an experience of such that really exist out there in the universe, and we don't know what this technology of theirs can do for us. And they can actually perhaps restore us, they can actually overcome death. Maybe they have such capability. As you know, the future we're thinking of, perhaps such future hasn't happened here on Earth yet, but we have to imagine if extraterrestrial life evolution has happened thousands of years before our evolution, then perhaps the future we're thinking of has already happened among the stars out there in the universe, because they just had a head start in evolution, and they probably had to go through the same kind of process that we did, and so they do know about our history and how we're going to evolve. So that sort of technology they possess to us is just what dreams are made of, and we have to understand that. And seeing such orb phenomena, or actual extraterrestrial or actual flying saucer, is going to be the closest you'll ever be to a future, because that is the real future. It's not a future we're thinking of, that's our future, that's necessarily the future of the universe. No, the future out there in the universe is the top future. Whichever extraterrestrial life possesses the highest future, highest intelligence out there. So that is the future, which is actually happening in real life as we speak. And what's to come here on Earth has already happened. And that's why UFOs could be really important to us, because we could actually make a shortcut to get there, rather than wait for this evolutionary process another thousands of years before we can actually finally get to a place where these UFOs actually come from. So this shortcut would mean a big thing for our civilization and our evolutionary growth. So consider yourself lucky to actually come in contact with this UFO orb phenomena, or flying saucer, or extraterrestrials. And just think about how advanced these civilizations are. You're probably looking at the future that will happen here on Earth perhaps thousands of years from now, but you saw it already. So think about that. And again, this footage here, as you see, is so interesting because we're looking at the future, okay? Orbs, in my opinion, are some sort of extraterrestrial life that's been on Earth for a very long time. And it's talked about in many stories. What exactly are orbs, and what are they doing on this planet? Are they actually coming from the Earth? Are they coming from another dimension? And how are they actually traveling to space? Again, this is the future that we're seeing here on this footage, okay? It's an actual future which is thousands and thousands of years ahead of us, okay? Let's not compare such technology as we see here on the footage, okay? Basically with drones and things. Let's not mistake in that, okay? Because again, the evolutionary gap between aliens and us, it's probably a very big one too. So if we see any kind of drones that are trying to imitate such phenomena, obviously drones cannot do that, such as replicating themselves, multiplying right on a spot, which is impossible to do right now. But it does show some sort of, in my opinion, some sort of artificial intelligence-like behavior, machines able to reproduce themselves. Again, there's a lot of alien abduction stories, and they all talk about this gray aliens. And to me, the more I think about this situation, it seems to me that the aliens are perhaps some sort of artificial intelligence, because the actual occupants of the original planet that send those UFOs to our planet, let's say like Zeta Reticuli, which takes 39 light years to travel from their planet to here, perhaps they wouldn't survive such a long ride, and therefore perhaps these aliens have been materialized or bioengineered on approach to the Earth, and the reason why they look gray, perhaps. And not just that, Calvin Parker's story, if you heard about his abduction story, he talks about these aliens that took him upon the ship, and when he looked at them, they seem to be moving in some sort of robotic kind of way. He's 100% sure they were mechanically engineered, and that kind of could explain that perhaps wherever they're coming from, they could be actually engineered or put into some sort of hypersleep, and until they arrive to the Earth, and they might not be actual original occupants of the planet, okay? They could be just some sort of artificial intelligence for the purpose, like we're sending moon rover to Mars, okay? And again, they might not survive such long distances, and therefore they might actually use, like Calvin Parker says, this mechanical type creatures that look like aliens to us, but they could actually be some sort of bioengineered machines, and perhaps, who knows, the actual occupants of Zeta Reticuli, if you're familiar with Zeta Reticuli story. Basically, Barney and Betty Hill talks about it, also Bob Lazar talks about it. This planet, 39 light years away, could have actually people, some kind of life that resembles people. Which in many stories they're present, like Travis Walton's story, there was a humanoid kind of looking creature, and also in Calvin Parker's story there was also a female present that basically looked like a human. So that's the sort of things that we have to question. Why all this information is very important to able to draw a bigger picture, to understand a little bit better about what really is going on. And as you know, such stories do sound ridiculous, but not so much these days anymore, because they're becoming more and more common. Now, if you think that's ridiculous, then what do you think of this footage? Again, these are orbs. They seem to be extraterrestrial in nature. I've seen it with my own eyes. They fly in symmetrical patterns. They produce crop circles, symmetrical shapes, which only intelligent life can do. And not just that, but they're just able to appear overnight and just do them on the spot. Like there's a footage actually that shows that, them being created in real time somewhere in England. And this person who was recording them simply recorded them with a VHS recorder. And this footage was actually taken to ILM, Industrial Light and Magic, for analysis, okay? These are people who do Star Wars special effects, okay? And they know better if somebody's faking something, okay? Because that's what they, usually do in the movies. And they know what a fake footage would look like, but they think this footage is actually authentic. And you can clearly see that these crops are being created in real time as he is recording. So that's very interesting. And again, so what are orbs? As you can see here, this is an amazing footage of orbs. It's exactly what I saw myself. The colors are there, it's not producing any noise, and this is what's so amazing about this what could be a future technology that's light years from ours, okay? And also Bob Lazar, he talks about such technology when he was on board that UFO. Able to distort space and time and supposedly contain antimatter, which we cannot do. As you know, any kind of antimatter that comes in contact with matter, it's instantly annihilated and it transforms into a different energy. And there's nothing on Earth that can contain antimatter because it will simply be gone. So yeah, again, if you've seen an orb, something similar to this footage, please send it in if you would like. I would like to analyze it, and please leave a little bit more information if you could. That would be much appreciated behind the footage, and explain what is going on. And if you're not planning to upload it onto your own channel, onto your own YouTube channel, then I would be much appreciated on my channel. And if you want, you can just provide a link, and I will put it in this video below, because I would like to dedicate again this video towards UFO orb phenomena. Okay, so again, if you have something you would like to add, or even just mention about UFOs, if you have an experience, UFO orbs, flying saucers, extraterrestrials, that will be very much appreciated. As you know, here on Block Tornado, we're trying to hunt for the truth, so feel free to drop a comment, and that will be much appreciated. Again, thank you very much for staying all the way here. I know I talk a lot, but if you did, I appreciate that a lot. I can see that you're interested in UFO orb phenomena, or perhaps something like this has happened to you. Please check out my blog if you want to know more information. There is a UFO and orb phenomena article I mentioned before that you can read about in UFO section, and I talk about my experience with UFOs. So again, please come back to see what's going on, and don't forget to subscribe here at the bottom right and give it a thumbs up. That would be much appreciated. Thank you very much. I post videos every day, every second day, every third day, and see what's going on, and that will be much appreciated. So cheers, take care.